Welcome to Bleav in 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav in 76ers is presented by betonline.ag.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the year. It's football season, and you know what that means? It means it's time to get in on BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. BetOnline. The game starts here. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav in 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash, your legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow, and my brother, Teja Dash. Guys, been off for about a couple of weeks here, what we call our holiday break, but we've seen some good stuff happen in our break, in our absence. Our guys are starting to get together. We're starting to see a surge. Sixers are on a heater, and we're going to get into all of that, of course, and all the wins that we've seen over the last few weeks. But how's everybody? Eric, Teja, how was your holiday breaks?
It's good, man. Glad to be back. Ready to go.
Good, feeling refreshed. Seeing more Sixers life helps, of course.
Yeah, especially on Christmas. That midday win from the Sixers gave us another Christmas miracle.
Jolt. Yeah, there you go.
Nice midday jolt. But let's dig into kind of what we've seen over the last few weeks since our last show. So obviously over the last 17 games, Sixers are 11-6 over that time period. I Bleav now we were 14-20 on the season, so pretty good comparatively to where we began the season. But we've had wins over the Celtics on Christmas, big win over the Spurs, Bulls, Magic, some of the key teams we've beaten in that time period. But over the last few weeks, which games have you kind of feeling more excited about the 76ers team? Which games can you point to where you're like, you know what, this is the team that we thought we were going to have this year? Which games kind of stood out to you over the last few weeks that where you were like, yep, this is the team that I think can go far?
To me, obviously, it was the Christmas Day game because that was a game against a team that was hot and really had our number. But to go in there and beat them on that day on their court, I know Drew Holiday didn't play, but still, I mean, they've still been beating teams when guys has been out. So to go in there to me and win that game, I think to me says a lot. And then overall, I think to get a collective amount of wins when you've had your full group. So that's not a particular game, but the fact that you won games when you've had your full group shows some promise.
I wanted to choose Boston, but I had a feeling both of us would want to choose that game. I'm gonna go away from that. It should be everyone's answer, right? I mean, there's no other choice. Probably win all season. So I'm going to go the Nets game. So you might be thinking why the Nets aren't a very good team. What's the big deal? Well, the time we had the same number of wins. So we beat a team by 30 points with the same number of wins as they do. But you're looking at the two talented teams or the talent of both teams. We should be much better than them. But this season, we haven't been consistently killing teams that we're supposed to be a lot better than. We've squeaked out overtime victories over teams that we're supposed to be way better than. The Nets, in my opinion, was that first game that not only did we dominate a team that was supposed to be inferior, but we had fun doing it too. They had a really good time out there. All starters had, I think the big three had a plus minus of in the 20s. I think average plus 17. We killed them. Embiid and George both play under 30 minutes. That's the way it's supposed to go against teams that we're supposed to be a lot better than. We're supposed to come out, not have to play your guys 35 plus minutes, beat them bad, have fun doing it. It wasn't a grind. We didn't have to take it to overtime or go to the last few minutes of the game. We're not going through the motions. That to me is really important. It's to see us win, have fun, because that'll equal chemistry down the road.
One of the big keys of both games, well, actually, I know the Nets. So the Nets game, I think Caleb Martin actually had a pretty good game as well in that game. And I know we talked about the big three doing their thing, but one of our biggest additions in the offseason was adding Caleb Martin. And in both those games you guys kind of cited here, Caleb Martin stepped up. So, and that's something that he kind of had a slow start to the season. And I know everyone wants to talk about PG, which we'll get to in a little bit with Paul George, but Caleb Martin's been a pretty good integral part of the success that we've had over the last 17-game stretch here. And you saw his role being the Celtic killer in the Christmas Day game, but you're kind of see him stepping up as well. What have you kind of made of Caleb Martin over the last few weeks, Eric? Because we're starting to see him kind of get familiar and more confident in his role in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think Caleb is going to be in that one spot. It's going to be hard trying to show the level of consistency that people may expect. He'll have games where he can't get 10. So he seems to be like sort of like that player on the roster. You almost have a guy in the starting lineup or 6 or 7 man that's usually like that type of role. And with the high volume of shots that your key guys are getting, that's what you're going to get. Like it's going to be like that. The opportunities to score will depend on game to game. Whether you're able to, some teams kind of gamble more and you're able to slash to the hoop and get a cutter, get offensive rebounds. I think it's going to be game to game, but for the most part, when his opportunities have come in at a higher volume, he's played well. He had dealt with injuries earlier, but I thought for the most part, for the deal that he's had, he's played well and helped us.
I mean, he's played 29 games, and out of those 29 games, he's only shot the ball more than 10 or more times, I think 10 times. So you're right, he's not getting a high volume amount of shots. So his good games got to either come from him increasing his volume by a lot or just increasing his efficiency. Like he did in the Nets game, I think he went 7 of 8 in that game. So, he's just going to have to get hot in those games and hit the key shots for us. In Boston, 8 of 11. 7 of 9 from 3. So those games are going to come from high efficiency, low volume.
One of the big things when we signed him was his roles, what he's done against Boston in his career. Eric, have you ever seen anything like this where a guy just kind of has his best games against one team, like time and time again? I mean, Boston fans can't stand Caleb Martin, and I know Sixers fans loved it when we signed him. We're like, hey, this is a guy who knows how to dominate Boston. What is it? What do you think it is that he just does so well against this one particular opponent?
Yeah, I mean, that's not very common that you but it's common. It does happen. You think of, I know Jimmy Butler's had, teams like that. Just to think of a person that's kind of come to mind. It does happen. You've had a level of success against a same team. Usually that's a guy that it kind of happens when you're playing for the same team. I think with Caleb Martin, what makes it a little special is that the opponent was the same, but he was on a different team. So that's probably where it's a little different. But yeah, I've seen it before where you kind of have, some success against certain teams. And it's good to see, especially against that opponent. So I take that any day.
What's crazy, too, if you actually look at his numbers, it's like staggering how identical he's playing the last season. He's averaging the same exact number of rebounds, 4.4, 4.4, the same exact number of assists, 2.2, 2.2, blocks, 0.6, 0.5. He's averaging more steals, same amount of personal fouls. He's averaging 4 more percentage points in three-pointers, and he's averaging a 0.7 difference in field goal percentage. Only thing that's different is his minutes are up, but his shot attempts are down. That makes sense because he can't do a team with Embiid, Maxey, and Joel. But it's pretty crazy that he stayed pretty consistent from this year to last and across the board for all of his stats.
Yeah.
I know Eric mentioned the Boston game. Teja mentioned the Nets game. I'm going to throw a game out there. I'm going to say a Spurs game. So obviously the referee, the officiating was the big thing in that game, right? Drummond gets thrown out. Then the ref says, I messed up. And then Drummond comes back. Embiid gets tossed. And obviously we've seen our record without Embiid. Not good, especially during a game, the kind of turmoil that happened. But team turned it around, and we were able to show dealing with adversity within the game, we were able to turn around and win that game. And of course, that was the game right before that Boston game too, right? So like you have that, thinking of that game ahead on Christmas, and you have that game right beforehand, and that could have gone out of control, but we kind of rallied and won. And San Antonio right now, they're at the last play-in game, or the last seed in the West for the play-in game spot. So I mean, they are a formidable team as well this year so far, at least. So I thought that was to rally in that circumstantial spot in that game.
Yeah, I like that. I did look at that game. I thought the difference was that was also a game that I felt like most people expected us to win. And so we had all that stuff happen during the game. But it being a home game and kind of still pulling it out, like I thought that really helped. But I thought it was more of the adversity. But I also included that in my having your full roster, even though Joel didn't finish the game. We still had the reserves and Drummond coming back. I mean, that was still, to me, outside of McCain, everybody was there.
Also notable of Caleb Martin, just want to say, since he came back from that 3 straight inactives, shooting 53% from 3. So a lot of people were talking about maybe a possible hitch he had. His shot looks a little more smooth, and 53%. Nice. Can't complain with that.
Rest can do wonders for guys.
Yeah.
And going to that Spurs game as well, I think we were a 7-point favorite, and we only won that game by 5. So we didn't even cover the spread for that game. So yeah, Eric, you're right. We were expected to win that game by 7, but we only won that thing by 5. All right, so going to our next topic here. So this is I feel like every year it's just like deja vu. We Sixers fans, you have to complain about the same old thing. You kind of say, Tejas, the symbolism for this one, Eric, complaining about contracts per player's play. But I'm curious to hear where Teja goes with this one. But there's a big divide right now with Sixers fans concerning the play of Paul George. I think I made a comment the other day calling him passive P, because it seems like he's not being, taking over games when like Maxey's not doing his thing or Embiid was not playing. But a lot of fans are saying pretty much quotations, this is what we paid for. He's not scoring enough. He's Tobias Part 2. This is why I never wanted to sign him, yada, yada, yada. Although now you're seeing people say trade Paul George to get Jimmy Butler, because at least we'll have, a year and a half of Jimmy Butler is better than 3.5 more years of Paul George. So a lot of that kind of stuff. But then on the other side of things, fans are saying that, without Paul George, this team's won 2 games without him. So, I mean, like, this is a team that, we've shown we can't really win without Paul George, and he's showing his prowess on defense, and he's impacting the games in more ways than just scoring. But a lot of fans just look at one column in the box score, and that's just scoring and 3-point makes. But where do you guys fall between the two groups? Are you saying, Paul George is a waste of money, or are you guys saying Paul George is impacting the game in more ways than just the points per game area on the box score?
I say what we said when he first signed. Um, that fourth year was tough. Where somebody would, multiple teams I believe would have gave him that, but that fourth year is tough. And that's what you look at right now. You look, and we got 3 more seasons. So, collectively, we felt he would probably be the third option on this team. He's had some unfortunate injuries to start the season. Um, but it does appear that he's aged, maybe not, but the fans that are watching and paying attention, they have a reason for concern moving forward. That's a legitimate concern. That if this is what we're getting now, how is it going to be, moving forward? Or is this just kind of need more time and is going to continue to maybe improve and get better, and he'll kind of get back to the form that to meet the expectations? I don't know. Like we really don't know if we're going to get this vertical or version of it. And most people thought.
So where do I fall between the groups? I am not panicking yet, just for the record. I do obviously think there's room for improvement. It's been a weird year for us so far because he's coming on to someone else's team, and we still haven't had a lot of games with them yet. So he seems to be, I think, more comfortable almost when like Embiid's not there, because I think he's more familiar with being the next guy up to shoot the shot. Whereas when Maxey, him and Embiid there, I think that's just going to need more time to get him used to that. And everyone, not just him, right? That's kind of what I was saying. Why I like the Nets game so much, because it was a dominant game, and all 3 of them were there doing well. But I mean, yeah, if you look at his stats, they're down across the board. Lowest shot attempts per game in 12 years. Lowest field goal percentage since 2015. Lowest 3-point percentage since his rookie season, which is now resulting in his lowest points per game since his second year in the league. His steals are the highest in the last 4 years. Blocks are about where they've been. I think once he gets more experience with the lineup and he'll get more adjusted, more comfortable, I think he'll be less passive, to go to your point, Marcus. I think he'll take some more shots when everyone's around, not just take the shots when we're missing one of our big guys. I think his percentages will level out a bit. We have a whole career of that. He's not going to just lose, 7 percentage points from one year to the next. Like, that's a crazy fall off. So I do think that will level out. I think if that levels out, you'll see his points per game rise a bit. But it's interesting if you look at the lineups where he's excelled and where he hasn't. So his best lineup is his highest, points, at least, if we're talking about we're going the point obsessed people. Just his highest points would be Embiid, George, Martin, Maxey, Yabusele. Next would be Embiid, George, Martin, Maxey, Oubre. He does have some negatives with some of the Embiid lineups too. But then the third highest scoring one is George, Martin, Maxey, Oubre, and Yabusele. So that's an Embiid-less lineup, and he's plus 25 in points per net 100 possessions. So it's interesting to see some of his. He's got some lower scoring lineups with Embiid, some lower scoring lineups without Embiid. It'll be it's interesting. I just need more time. I can't. I don't think it's what anyone expected, but we're not what we expected as a team. So it's not like George is our problem right now. We've had a lot more problems this season. I don't think George can help mask that. But I'm going to definitely give him more time because that's what we have with him. We have 3 more years after this. So,
what do you guys make of the fans who want us to trade Paul? I mean, obviously it's not going to happen, but the Paul George or Jimmy Butler thing. I mean, what do you guys make of that? I mean, if it was a either or kind of situation, do you think Jimmy Butler would be fit better than Paul George in this team?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the fact that he's been familiar with Joel, like, I don't know. Jimmy comes with some other stuff that could, we don't know if he'll mesh well with Maxey. So that's my concern with that. Like, I don't know. I don't see how that. I can see some issues there. Not because of talent, just because I just from a chemistry standpoint, I don't know. I just don't know what you'll get outside of Joel in their relationship.
I can pose another question too with that. If you put, okay, sorry,
you'll see. I mean, I'm gonna say as far as Paul, I think more time. I said when you say you got to give Paul more time, I think you can say that if the expectations weren't championship, but they are. I think that's the problem. It's not just the expectations that are on Paul individually, but it's also the expectations that are put on the team.
Yeah.
Before he even showed up, and then especially once he showed up. So I don't know how give him time. We're already in January.
Yep. Well, let me ask you a question, Eric. If you put, I know it's a hypothetical, but if you put Butler on this current team and same exact record, we're struggling all the same, I don't think things would be sunshine and rainbows right now either with him. Do you think, people would be asking, why do we trade for Butler then? If it was the same exact situation, but with Butler instead of Paul George.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the same thing. That's why I say the issue. I think the issue when you talk about Paul and Jimmy right now is their deals are different. That's I think when it comes down to Paul, everybody's talking about if this is what you're getting now, we still got 3 more years. So that's sort of the issue with Jimmy's people kind of what you're getting, and it's a shorter deal. So let's take a chance. We already got this guy. Can it get worse? Most people probably feel it may stay stagnant. It may stay where it's at. So people that have said something to me as far as wanting Jimmy, that's kind of been their thing. The deal, and they felt he could be more of a better third option than Paul, where they felt Paul could be a better 1-2 option. And I thought that was a legit situation, but we don't know what Jimmy we're going to get. That's my issue.
And doesn't Jimmy want a new deal
Not
anyway?
as far as talent, but as far as locker room, we don't. Everywhere he's gone, everywhere he's been, especially towards the end of his deal.
Doesn't Jimmy want a new deal anyway, though? That was part of the problem that he started with the Miami, is that they didn't give him a new deal.
That is what Windhorst reported. Yep.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be the same deal in Philly? If they don't give him,
he probably wants Paul George's deal. Is what he wants.
I'm sure he does. I mean, he's there right now, but he just broke the extra years. I mean, Do you trust to give him the 3 more years? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
How much how long of a leash do you give him? Obviously, he had these 2 injuries, the hyperextensions, right? He had the first one right before the season, then he had the one a couple weeks later. How long, like, will you say his shooting struggles can be attributed to the kind of the early start of the injuries, and how much, like, how long of a leash would you give him to kind of recover from the injuries that he's had, or do you think he should be at this point right now? He should be all healed and 100% at this point.
Man, I am about injuries. Like, we don't know. Like, everybody's body is different. Like, we really don't know how to assess. But I think when you can come out and then one game you can have 30 and the other one you go 5 for 19 or 18. I think what most people would want is some level of consistency, whatever that may be. If you're going 15 points, give us 15 points. You're going to be 18, then give us 18. But I think the unfortunate thing for Paul is he is running into and came into the same situation that he made. And they're looking at you and saying, you make this amount of money and this is what the expectations are. But when you give people the money, you give them the money based on who they are. But I don't know how you can give them that money and then we expecting Paul to increase his play, how it usually goes in the league. So it's not like he has a decreasing contract. He has am I right, Teja? He has an increasing contract, correct?
Yeah, it's going out.
Yeah, so if you have an increasing contract and your play is decreasing, that's been the issue, and that's the biggest concern.
Yeah.
Based on what you're seeing right now. So we can say it's injuries, and it very well may be, but that if he no longer gets an injury, you can't really, you can't give him, you're out there. As soon or later, people are going to say, well, you're out there, then, no more excuses. If you're injured, then sit out. But if you're out there, and then when things are going to go well, say, well, I play hurt. A lot of guys play injured. But like I said, when Paul came in, the team has expectations. In this, hopefully they both can be met. And for his sake, the individual one can be met.
Yeah. I mean, scoring 6 points less than last year, that's a lot. I'm sure he's not happy with that either. So it's a big difference.
Yeah, especially from a fan base that was running Tobias out of town for doing very similar kind of stuff. So this is sure some of those folks who wanted to point blame at Tobias, they've got their.
That's why I said that. But that's the part that I'm saying. Like, not only is he basically doing what Tobias did, and guys like Teja don't like that.
Yeah. I mean, God, no Sixer fan should like him averaging 16 a game. I mean, even if we got him for a bargain, I wouldn't be happy with it because it's not an efficient 16. It's a terrible 16.
So say for instance, we kept with Detroit. What else could you have gotten with that?
You're saying if we signed Tobias to the deal he got in Detroit?
Yeah. Yes. What else could we have gotten with that?
20 he signed, so
like how much space would have been left if we did that?
26 a year. So that would have gave us 26 more million to spend. We could have gotten maybe two more guys at the 13, 14 level, or at least one guy, with like 18, 19 per season. Yeah. Let me see.
Could we have gotten KCP or no?
Yeah. Let's see, 26. Yeah, he could have had, who got signed this year out of this group? DeRozan signed for 23 as an example. KCP 22. Yeah, or you could have just traded for a lot of guys too who make around that amount. If you look at the guys who make around 26, you could have had a lot of guys out there.
Okay, that's all I was asking. I didn't know how much Tobias is.
He's making about half of what Paul George is making.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, I love that Teja embodies a whole sect of the Sixers fan base. Teja, you are that second group of Sixers fans. All right, so
I'm saying give him more time though. So I mean, we put up with what, 5 years of Tobias doing that?
Yeah.
Let's give Paul George more than 25 games, or
Yeah, well, trade deadline's in a month from now. So I'm not saying we're going to trade him, but I'm saying I'm very curious to see what Morey wants to do. I think there was a report earlier. I think Windhorst said that Morey is going to be very, very active making calls around the trade deadline. So we'll see what they think we need to fill to help boost Paul George's numbers.
Now, if we were going to revisit all these options before we actually made the move, one of the other guys we were comparing him to, who makes about 16 less than him, is Brandon Ingram, who's also dealing with a lot of injuries this year, but who is playing really well when he was healthy. So that was the other guy who was also younger, is going to be a better deal in 4 years from now. Knowing what you know right now, Eric, would you want to go back and have Brandon Ingram instead?
I would trade him for Brandon Ingram. Yes, I would.
Yo, you trade him right now for Ingram?
Yeah, I would trade him for Brandon.
Interesting. All right, so we're going to do our final topic here. We got game picks.
You get someone closer to Maxey's age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's about 27. Yeah. He's like the bridge between Maxey and Embiid.
Yeah. All right, so we have, before our next show, we only have one game between now and then. Wednesday, tomorrow night, Sixers will be taking on the Washington Wizards. This should be an easy pick 'em. Wizards are 6-27, and we are 14-20. Wizards are completely all in on the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. I have friends here who have already customized the Cooper. I've gotten a customized Washington Wizards T-shirt jersey with a Cooper Flag name on the back. So they're all in on the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. The more I watch Cooper Flag, the more I'm not that impressed by him. But nonetheless, who do you guys have in this Wizards Sixers game tomorrow night?
I got the Sixers. I mean, we got to win it, even if guys sit out. We got to win that game. So we need it. Behind these teams is not being in the top 10 seeds.
Yeah, this is the game we should beat them bad, and we should, it's one of those games I was talking about earlier with taking teams out and showing you're the more powerful, stronger team. Like, you got to blow these kind of teams out and get Embiid playing, but playing under 30 minutes. That's the goal. Beat a team so bad that Embiid and George can play under 30 minutes in the game.
And do you think there's a spot? I know Embiid rested yesterday. Do you think there's a spot where they also keep Embiid out just because the opponent we're playing? And next week we have 2 back-to-backs. So you think they probably use this time to rest Embiid again?
I have no idea. I have no idea what their thinking is as far as resting him. I don't know. I mean, I turned on the game last night and he's not playing. I don't know.
They were talking about, they were asking Nick Nurse about him playing back-to-backs.
I have no clue. Man, I would think that, like, it's not a back-to-back that he played, but I mean, I'm saying when it's on, so, but it's no kind of set way of what they're doing. So I don't know. We don't know if he's having a setback or it's just part of their plan and they picking games, which ones he can play or based on how he feels. So I'm just like everybody else. We just watching. I have no clue.
Yeah, I wish I had a better beat on it, but it's just so hard to know anymore. I mean, you got Nurse answering questions about getting him to a place to play back-to-backs, but then he doesn't play on days rest. It's hard. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, and then you don't play him against Sacramento, but then you do play him against Golden State. I think that was a mistake. We could have had the Sacramento game in the bag, but that was a choke at the end of the game.
Yeah, we should have won without him.
We should have, yeah. Next week we have OKC and then New York on a back-to-back. And then we have Thursday, Friday rest, and then we have Indiana and then Milwaukee back-to-back.
Yeah, I mean, but the issue with that was the team part.
Yeah, so take this Wizards game, we'll take the dub, and we'll enjoy that. And then we have Friday, we have New Orleans. So we'll take the win and hopefully get a little streak going here. Continue this 2025 surge. But all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. We hope everybody enjoyed the show. And we'll see you guys Friday as Bleav in 76ers makes a return for 2025, baby. We're back. We're back, ready to keep this heater going. Take it easy, fellas.
All right, guys.